we developed an edible centerpiece we called a dome cake. And the beauty of dome cakes is you can prepare almost all of it at one time and transport it. We've transported our dome cakes hundreds of miles by baking them in, it can be any dome shaped pan, and it doesn't matter if it has a little ridge like this, that won't even show for our purposes. And this size is a 10-inch from rim to rim that I got at the dollar store. And at one time we were doing 15 of these cakes at a time. And so I developed a real rhythm for how to make them be pretty and have them be a tasty end to a dinner. And so if you don't have a pan specifically for these, like I did, and again, they are available, make sure the pan is deep enough and use an entire cake mix in this pan, and you cook it at 350 or bake it at 350 for about an hour. Check it at 45 minutes. It probably won't be ready, but you should check that anyway.
Make sure it's not a plastic bowl, right? An oven safe.
Any oven safe bowl will do. Do not attempt plastic. Do not attempt that at home or anywhere else. So with these bowls, to prepare them, and I've done one today. Bonnie, would you hold up the one in the, I did one in a pottery bowl. We just show the bowl.
Oh, just a bowl.
One in a pottery bowl, and then one in, these were the ones that we mainly used for our purposes. In order to have these cakes come out of the mold or the pan without sticking, you must use any kind of thing. This is Baker's Joy, but any non-stick spray that has flour in it. It will say right on the can, flour. It doesn't matter what brand it is, and it can't be greasing and flouring it yourself. Those will not work. They don't all release. But if you use a spray release with flour in this, it's all going to come out beautifully. So don't skimp on that. Don't think I can do the homemade version. Just get the pan release that has flour. I used any cake mix, any flavor that you would like. We usually do chocolate because that's safe. But I remember with Jared and Karen's, we had white chocolate coating our dome cake, and inside was whipped cream and fresh strawberries. And that was really pretty because we put strawberries on top. So it was a white cake. It was like a big strawberry shortcake, all there ready to slice and serve. The fillings I've used, if it's chocolate, I use any kind of instant chocolate pudding and a package of Dream Whip. And that happens to be right on the carton of Dream Whip. One package of Dream Whip, a package of the pudding mix, and a half cup of cold milk. You beat that together and it makes a mousse that's just delicious. And while we're just showing illustrations, the dome cake can either have a tunnel to put the mousse in so that you don't interrupt the outsides, or you can slice it directly in half, put mousse in the middle, and then put it back together. You'll freeze the whole cake, and then you'll put the chocolate coating on, which is mainly what we want to demonstrate today.
Now, when you do that, take it out of the bowl. To transport it and freeze it, you wash the bowl?
No, I only washed the bowl because we were on film today.
Okay.
So usually after I've baked those cakes and cooled them, I wrap them in plastic and put them right back in this bowl. Filled, excuse me. After I've filled it, usually I just cut them in half and put the filling in. And if the bowl, I'm not going to show it today, but if the bowl isn't quite full enough, you can put a 9-inch layer of cake on top of your filling. You could just not even cut it in half, put your filling in, then put the layer, and then wrapped in plastic and back in the fridge, ready for the final coating. Now this does not seem like it's going to work at all. I'm hoping you will be amazed. So what you do is, you don't have to have anything other than a flat surface. I used to do it on my stovetop that is glass stovetop because it was nice and smooth. Here, I just want you to see about how big it is. So I have this mat just purely for you to see the lines. You put your plastic film as smoothly as you can down on your surface. This is really important. You can't do it without plastic film. And I use, Joanne, show us, this is the wide, does it say how wide it is?
Yeah.
This is the wide one that you can get at Costco.
It's 18 inches.
Oh, 18 inches wide.
So you do need wide plastic film. Then you put it down as smoothly as you can. It doesn't have to be really smooth.
Oh, sorry.
But
I'll cut that part out.
no, I just have to have something to do while I'm talking. But work with it a little bit because the smoother it is, the easier the chocolate goes on. I don't remember, I think I was down in bed with a bad back and saw this demonstrated on television one time, and then remembered it when we started having weddings. And if you recall, it's not perfectly wrinkle-free, but you don't have any big creases in it. You don't want any big creases. When Joanne and I were driving up to the Capitol from Provo to Salt Lake City, it's about an hour's drive, and we were just in the car and turned the first corner, and all the cakes in their pans, in their metal pans, slipped off the bench seat they were on onto the floor. We stopped the car. We got out, put them all in a place where they wouldn't slide off anymore, and the cakes were perfect. There was no damage. So these are almost in transit, like cast iron. It's hard to destroy them. So what we're going to do is, you can use a regular spatula or a regular knife, but if you have an offset spatula, it's easier to be consistent as you smooth because your hand is in a more comfortable position. It can be done without it, but it's nicer. So Joanne, if you could give me, we'll start with one ladle. You can move that closer. If you'll start giving me a ladle. We are using this chocolate melter. For years, we used either a microwave or a double boiler to do the same thing. Just use whatever you've got,
in the center.
the whole thing right there. And so again, I think maybe do another dip. It's easier if you estimate. This is all estimates, especially if you're using different size bowls, which we are. So you don't want the chocolate too thick, that's good. You don't want too thick of a level, but pretty much what you're doing is spreading this out to a big circle. The circle is going to enclose your dome cake. And if it's too thick, then it won't wrap around the cake. So it's just gotta be thick enough. And we were measuring for the size dome cakes we're doing. If you're gonna have it thick anywhere, have it be thick at the edge, because the edge doesn't matter as much. But look how easy it is to spread this out with this offset spatula. And you don't want it thick at the top, but you don't want it too thin either. But if there is a variation, now I'm thinking out loud here, could you give me like a half of a dipper? Yeah.
Just in the middle?
Yeah. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go an inch more around the edges.
Would that make 14?
No, this is 12 now.
Oh, okay.
So the pan we have is approximately 8 inches, and it doesn't have to be a perfect circle. Like I said, this measuring is for illustration so that you can see it better. But you're making a circle and you're going to put the center of the cake right in the center of the circle as best you can.
How thick would you estimate that is? Like a quarter?
About 1/8 of an inch. It's not a quarter would be way too thick. If you do this in practice and ruin one, we're not talking about a lot of money.
I'm sure it tastes good
But
anyway.
I'll tell you, we have done, I'd say at least 75 of these over the years. We do 12 at a time, and many of our children for their wedding lunch would have these dome cakes. So here we have it. It's now ready to go. And so right on camera, we're going to work magic. Can you just stick this somewhere? Not in the big pan. Okay. So now we have the plain cake. I've prepared this cake. Pretend it's filled. It's not. It would be taller if I'd filled it. But I want you to get the idea of how these cakes go. So I put a protective film on it because it's been in the freezer. And so it's got a smooth surface up at the top, and you just center that cake, and I need the metal bowl. And then, Joanne, if you will take the 2 corners on that side, this is where you do need 2 people. Now this is big enough for me to put another layer cake on top of this and have it all frozen. Again, we're doing this just for illustration purposes because we're at the end of filming, and so 2 people can lift this back into your mold. Okay, now the important thing is for you to be patient, and here's where Bonnie's close-ups are really going to help, because you don't want any creases. You just want it to be gently in there, and so if you can see, those are creases. They're not big folds.
Yeah, like
you
this
do
is a
not
bigger
want
fold.
a big, yeah. We're going to save this big fold because you almost can't get the plastic wrap off if you got it tucked in a big fold. Yeah, as it is, be patient with it. Don't worry. You've already done the tricky part. So you just take your time, lift it up, and try for it to be as equal as possible. And when you think you've got it, just press it down, because then it won't come back up. Right here you can see there's a big fold. Can you get a close-up on that, Bonnie? That crease is what you don't want. So look, there's time. I can now smooth that out so that it's a small tuck instead of a big crease. Big creases will be very frustrating. Now this is coming up underneath the cake more than it needs to, but it's not, I mean, it's your creation. So do not worry. If they're little tiny folds like this one, they'll pop right out, and we'll show you that in a minute. Here we are again, avoiding a crease by controlling the top part that's not covered in chocolate. You can really do with your fingers. See how I'm smoothing those out? Because my goal is I don't want any big tucks, just little ones. And the one that's folded back, I have complete control over that just by working it with my fingers. So we are all the way around. I'll look carefully again because the chocolate is not set yet. It's still liquid. So you have time to kind of press it with your fingers and mess around. And little creases, as I said, are fine. You just don't want any big tucks. It's a little bit like setting your hair. If you're careful when you do it, then you'll be happy when you unroll the results. Very much like curlers, I guess. These are going to, now, if some you can see all around, I'll put the plastic up here. It's pretty smooth, and there's still time for me to say, oops, wait a minute, this one's not. And try not to get the chocolate clear to the edge of the plastic, because you need something to pull off after it's set. So this will go in the refrigerator, or when we were taking these, we did these weeks in advance, put them in the freezer, stored them stacked up in an ice chest, and traveled hundreds of miles to our destination. These were very successful and very dramatic, and you'll see the big reveal in a while. And so we'll just take this and invert it. This will crash down when we put it. Gravity will take care of that. Okay. And then look what you have is a beautiful surface. I'm going to push it down. Try not to do what I just did. You don't want your hands on here because this looks so beautiful. We're brushing off the sides of the cake plate. Are there some on the other side that I can't see?
No, these are good. It's good on this side.
Okay, could you hand me a towel? So you can see that in some places, the chocolate cake is showing. We call those blems. And we take the blem, and like I said, if I had put an extra layer of cake on top of this one and adjusted it, it should come clear down, but we're ignoring that for now. You could take whipped cream if the edge looks this way, but if you do it the right depth, which I did not, this unmolds beautifully. Now what to do if there are parts that are blems? I think these tucks are beautiful, and I don't consider those blems. Sometimes it might crack, or as you can see right here, this is where your chocolate leaves come into play. Remember our session on making chocolate leaves, and I'm just going to put some of my chocolate leaves, dip it like this into the pot, or you can use a spoon to put it on, and here is your glue. And you take perfect strawberries that have been washed and dried, and you can drizzle a little a little chocolate, no real glue. You glue the strawberry on here too. Just with a little bit of chocolate, you can set that down. And you can take one of your chocolate leaves, dip it in, and maybe stick it up so that it's in the air. That looks lovely. I like a variety of positions of the fruit. This can be raspberries or anything. It is good to always have a little bit of green on here. So I don't know why, sometimes we've run outside and gotten edible leaves that are live. We've already used the leaves to make chocolate leaves, but you peel off that green. Let me illustrate that again. In just a minute, I want to finish putting these strawberries in. And again, if these are washed and they have to be dried, washed and dried, you're just setting this right on here. And look, I've got green here, switching here, and then green over there, so it's kind of symmetrical. And I have 3 strawberries, but we're gonna pretend I have 5. This one big strawberry is going to go over here because this side of the cake is a little lonely. Let me show you again how you peel this. This has been coated in advance on a rose leaf. Grab onto the main stem of the real leaf and it comes right off. And there you have. You can be as elaborate with these leaves as you want. Joanne, you can see in the front. You want to put that in the front somewhere so it'll drape down a little bit.
You put the chocolate or drape down over it.
Wherever you want it, because the glue will hold.
Right there, that's good, yeah.
You do the underside of the leaf, is that correct, or no?
I'll just push it in there.
Do. The coating is on the back of the leaf, and then you peel that. I think I've still got one. So here's the front of the leaf, and you've turned it upside down, and these leaves have been washed and dried. And then they come right off, and what you have is here's the leaf pattern right here. This tiny little leaf. Let's say that the strawberry looks a little lonely. So I'm dipping a little glue and putting it at an interesting angle and holding it till it's set. Hopefully, I'll rest it on this other. And you've got variety. Now, sometimes we've had blems that went clear down the side, and we just make that part of the design wherever there's something to cover that you don't want. It does help if you're having a lot of people help. Imagine this being on 15 tables and you want to serve in an hour. Believe it or not, with a team of people, and if you've already got the leaves ready to go and the whatever fruit, this looks really beautiful too when you're using fresh flowers. They have to be edible flowers, pansies or roses. Look beautiful on these. So it doesn't have to be fruit. I'm giving you an illustration of how it should look. Now, I'm not going to deal with the fact we like them to come down here, and the conditions we're filming in made that impossible. You could take whipped cream and pipe it around the edge,
I don't think it looks bad.
or there you have it. Or you could put more leaves down if there was a real big. You have options, but I think this looks really lovely and really unusual. Then you make sure you have a knife and a spatula on each table. And after it's been the centerpiece of a whole luncheon, then there's the equipment and small dishes for people to help themselves to this cake.